All right, welcome back to the Baseball Playground. I'm Coach Matt McGowan.
I'm Jacob Odell.
And we're extremely happy and excited to have an extremely talented young freshman, Mick Paul from LSU. He's part of the dynamic SEC LSU Tigers that are taking everybody by storm right now. Mick, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Mick, so excited you're here. Talk to us about your journey to the SEC and to LSU because, knowing you had an offer to go to Arizona. Coach Jay Johnson leaves. You end up going to LSU. Tell us about that.
Was originally going to Arizona. I committed there going into my junior year, I believe. Coach Johnson, I feel like the relationship we built in that recruiting process, his style of game and, his whole development and what I thought just where I could take my skills and my talents and really improve as a ball player and an individual overall. I feel like that was the place to go and to play for him. And, when he got the job here, my first thought was, I want to play for this coach. And so, we got in touch once things kind of settled down, the whole transition process. And, he offered me a spot here, and it was hard to turn down. And I'm just grateful to be here. So that's kind of how that whole thing shook out.
Talk about, the everyday, day-to-day process of a freshman who's on a team with, a lot of draft picks, loaded. The day-to-day grind and kind of what your process is like.
I think something that's big for me is just making every day count. Learning from these guys while they're here. Paul and Dylan especially, everyone in the locker room really just is a phenomenal ball player, and there's a lot to learn from them. So, just picking their brain here and there, I'm sure I could probably bug them from time to time, just, asking them questions. But, it's something that I really want to take advantage of because, these guys are big leaguers. It's not every day that you have that opportunity. So, really just learning from them, seeing how they go about their process, trying to emulate that each and every day, and really just getting 1% better each and every day is really the goal over here. So
yeah, constantly improving yourself is the overall perspective, right? And that's what we had Paul on the show, and that's one of the huge topics that he was harping on is just the guys that are around you motivate each other, they get each other stronger, bigger mentality, better mentality on all that stuff. When you were in high school, you had like you said, wanted to go to Arizona, and then now you're over at LSU. Run me through that recruiting process, right? Where you're a high school sophomore, right? And you're talking to coaches already, and then you kind of just had this whole 180 switch on you. Run me through that.
It was definitely something that I wasn't really prepared for, I'm like the only kind of baseball guy in my family in terms of playing in college and stuff. So this whole recruiting process, it was very new to us, and we were lucky to have people to help us through it, and so we could ask questions and whatnot. But yeah, that summer when Coach Johnson got the job here, it was something that I wasn't really prepared for, but I wasn't surprised either because he deserves every bit of this job. He's the best coach in the country, so I was my first thought is always kind of where to go from here, right? So I just reached out a couple days after he got the job, and we hopped on a phone call and we kind of just talked about how things were going to look, and I ended up making a trip down here to check it out, and it's a very different scene from Arizona, so just making sure I like it, and I was prepared for SEC style of game. It's a lot different. So
this episode is presented by Vai Training Gloves, helping you train to become a pro. Use code BP for 10% off your order.
Sounds awesome. You talk about preparation, being prepared for the SEC, and it's the best conference in the country. The atmospheres are absolutely amazing. You guys just broke the attendance record for people at a game. Talk about the preparation from high school to your days at LSU. Were you prepared immediately, or was there a process of oh man, I need to spend some extra time doing things, or do you feel that your high school preparation prepared you to be successful at LSU?
You know, in high school, I feel like I tried to focus on staying disciplined, you know, in the classroom, in the weight room. And that's just always kind of been a part of my character. So I feel like that really helped me prepare because, you know, coming into this scene, you know, it's like going into the lion's den, you know, so you got to be ready. And I think playing summer ball a couple months ago for the Marshals in Utah really helped me to prepare. They really ran it as a college team would, and that's where Coach Johnson sent most of his guys to Arizona. And, yeah, those coaches over there just really kind of prepared me and kind of ran things the way that a lot of college programs do. And so it kind of gave me some insight into what to expect over here and really just to hone in on a lot of different skills. And, you know, like the bunting game, you know, steals and stuff like that, like really all-encompassing. So that really helped too. I think, you know, on the weight room side, I felt pretty prepared, trying to get better each and every day and get stronger. And so once I got here, you know, just trying to keep that same mindset and, yeah, just not trying to do too much, but just, you know, get my work in and keep on the grind, really.
Yeah, the Utah Marshals, Sam Swanson does a great job over there. You know, we played at them with our travel teams many times in Vegas and other tournaments. You talk about the Utah Marshals, you talk about summer ball. Summer ball's a grind for a lot of players, but it also it makes the process a lot faster for you to be prepared for the college level. Did you have LSU guys that were on that team that helped you understand what you're getting yourself into, or was that just a, you know, mixed bag of kids all over the place?
That team was mostly, I would say, Pac-12, so a couple of Arizona guys, Stanford, a couple of Cali schools, no LSU guys on that team, but I believe a couple are going to go this upcoming summer. And yeah, it's every day, you know, double headers, and they really just kind of build that mental toughness, you know, because it's a long season. So just being prepared going in and you know, taking care of your body, that's big time. So they really did a good job with that. And yeah, I think it's a great program, and it's only going up from here. So I'm excited for the guys that are playing there coming up.
How did you showcase your talents and skills, whether it was showcases, you know, contacting coaches, recruiting film? What was that like for you with the recruiting process? I
wasn't as big into the showcases, you know, not like these national kind of perfect game or stuff like that. I played with Mountain West Baseball Academy back in Utah, and those coaches helped me to get in touch with some schools. Yeah, I think just reaching out and taking advantage of the resources that you have, you know, constantly just emailing and getting in touch with schools and letting them know you're interested and kind of just showcasing yourself, right? Like, you know, you're doing good in the classroom, staying disciplined and all that stuff, because it all really matters, you know. That's kind of something we focus on here. Everything matters, you know, the classroom, the weight room. It all translates to the field. So that's something that I always worked on. And, yeah, I think I was grateful to have a couple coaches that would help me, you know, get in touch. And that's how I actually got in touch with Coach Johnson, was a guy by the name of Matt Richter. He was with, I think, Baseball Factory at the time, and he had played against Coach Johnson, coached against him. He's known him for like 20-plus years. And he's like, you know, I think this could be a great fit. Like, let me see, like, if I can get you guys in touch and whatnot. But that was kind of how it all started, so.
You talk about everything matters, and I try to harp on that with the high school kids that we coach and that we talk to. In my opinion, everything is relational. Everything relates to one another, right? If you study really hard, you're going to get really good grades. If you work really hard in the weight room, you're going to get stronger. If you hit, you know, after practice, you're going to be a better hitter. Talk about, you know, just dealing with some of these guys that, you know, like you said, they're going to be pro baseball players. You're with them every day. You're hitting in the cages with them. You're on the field with them. Is there something that separates those guys from maybe somebody else, or is there something that you see that they all have?
Just making every rep count, you know, honestly. Not really letting them just go by the wayside. You know, watching Dylan Cruz in the cage, he's never just, you know, taking cuts just, you know, for fun, right? He's being diligent about it, working at bats off the machine, staying late after practice to get more at bats, off that thing, because we have this machine that like can spit sliders, all this stuff, and so it really gives you an advantage to get at bats in, really, and so he's always on that. And yeah, like with Paul, I think he was saying he's here like 9 to 12 hours every day, right? And he's taking care of his body, doing cold tubs and stuff, he's throwing, and so yeah, I mean, it's kind of a common theme to just see those guys here all the time. I would say just constantly investing in yourself.
Now, seeing them there, like you said, 9 hours, 12 hours a day, these guys not taking any reps off, does that motivate the rest of the team? Because like if our best players are doing that, then we should all be doing that.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely a lead by example type of thing. And I think our team has really great chemistry. The older guys set a really good example. It's all really like team led, take initiative, right? We don't really have to be like told by the coaches to do something. We want to make it happen, right? And I think that's kind of a theme of great teams is working together to get stuff done and learn from mistakes and just getting ready for the weekend.
At what point did you know that this team was a national championship contender?
Probably just once I got on campus and we started getting into fall ball. Really. Just that competition right off the bat in these scrimmages and stuff, it's pretty elite. So I mean, really just harping on working together and kind of being this selfless player right across the board, knowing that someone's going to get the job done. That's really what it's about, to win. So yeah, I think just really improving every day. Like the team we were in the fall is completely different from the team now, just because we working together and really just getting better. So I would say, yeah, back in the fall is really when I knew that we're going to be a solid team if we can just work hard and get things done.
And baseball is a game of failure, so of course you're learning from all those experiences and you're tacking on records just by putting the work in. Now, with that said, though, how are you, McPaul, how are you staying motivated and determined when you are facing challenges, whether, you go 0 for 4, a lot of kids throw their bat, throw their helmet, get upset at themselves, and it's like, dude, like baseball is a game of failure, like stuff happens. Right. So how do you keep that strong mentality, whether, things are going right versus things that are going wrong?
Yeah, like you said, it's part of the game, and something that Coach Johnson talks a lot about here is, we want to be different, right? We want to win a national championship. So to do that, like, we got to hold ourselves to a different standard, and we got to do those hard things, like, when you're angry, when you want to, hit your helmet against the wall, like, you got to have some self-control and know that, you can't let that dictate your next at bat or your next inning on the mound. And so really just getting to that next pitch and staying locked in, pitch to pitch, and really just taking it one pitch at a time. And I think something that's always helped me is I think it was Bader was talking on like MLB Network or something, and he said even if you're 0 for 3, you got to have your best at bat. Like at the end of the game, it's really what counts. And so just staying locked in and sticking to your approach and just being ready for when your pitch comes or when your moment on the mound comes, just knowing that your preparation is ready to showcase. So
you're absolutely right. I think learning how to fail, understanding that failure is part of the game, and realizing that that next at bat is a new at bat. It's a new journey. It's a new fight. What advice would you give a player, maybe in the high school ranks, that is kind of was in your situation, right? Like they didn't really have the questions, they didn't really know who to ask or who to talk to. It was a different experience for them as the first baseball player to go through the process. What advice would you give those players?
Yeah, I would say just continue to take initiative, continue to reach out, and keep working hard for sure. It's easy to kind of look around and be like, man, this guy's, he's got an offer here or there. Feeling like you're kind of in the back of the pack. Just working hard and knowing that everyone's kind of journey is different, right? It'll all shake out differently, and so just taking it day by day, really getting in the weight room, getting your cuts in or your reps on the mound in, and when your time comes, just take that opportunity. But yeah, just don't compare yourselves to the kids around you, and just keep working hard, really.
What are some of those common misconceptions that a lot of players have about the recruiting process?
Maybe just feeling like you gotta commit somewhere, or you gotta make something happen like freshman year or sophomore year. Like you. I don't want to say there's always time, but you don't have to rush everything, and just trusting the process and knowing that it'll come, right? If you're doing the work, coaches are going to see, word's going to get around, and they're going to recognize your hard work and your talent.
What's the best advice that you've gotten at LSU from the coaches, from a player, something that you'll hold on to when you play pro ball and you move on?
I think really just not letting failure dictate your future opportunities in the game. I would say just taking it one pitch at a time, because it's easy to get wrapped up in what you did your last at bat or something. And so really just staying engaged and like I said, sticking to your approach. You got to be 100% committed to your approach at the plate. You can't have a divided mind. And so yeah, just believing in yourself and knowing what kind of makes you great as a ball player, knowing your skills, knowing your talents. Like for me, it's, working counts, seeing pitches, line drive, stuff like that. It's not, I'm not going to be the guy that's pumping 20 homers a year, so just staying consistent in your game plan.
Yeah, knowing who you are.
Exactly.
Right? I feel like a lot of players don't understand that. They don't understand, hey, you're a singles guy. Hit singles. Don't try to hit home runs. I deal with that right now at the high school level. I have guys that, want to go big fly, and it's like, man, you're 5'4", $130. Like, that doesn't play.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, which doesn't mean that you can't, hone those other talents and skills, but just not comparing yourselves to other guys who might be bigger and stronger, right? Just sticking to what makes you great.
yeah, understanding your abilities and how to maximize your abilities to get the most out of them. As an outfielder and as somebody who, again, is dealing with, the pressure of LSU, right? Because you have pressure. You have, it's title or bust. I mean, your fans are extremely hardcore. The alumni are extremely hardcore. Talk about the added pressure that's on you every day, where it seems like kids can't make mistakes. Kids can't fail because you're dealing with so much pressure that's added on.
Right. Something that's always kind of stuck with me is pressure's a privilege, right? It's something that can really take you to the next level if you know how to kind of just stay within yourself and stick to your game plan, right? And acknowledging that you are going to fail, right? No matter how many people are in the crowd, like you're probably going to strike out at some point. Kobe missed a bunch of game-winning shots, right? Jordan, like all these guys failed a bunch before they, got recognized for hitting that one shot at the end of a game. And so just, I would say working hard every day. And, that pressure kind of keeps me going in the sense that, it's a awesome opportunity to play here. And so just, working hard and just preparing for when, you step on that field, because you got to trust that, when it's game time, it's time to compete, and, you're not thinking about your swing, or you're not thinking about whatever it is. It's time to go win out there. And so just taking it one day at a time for me, and, not getting ahead of ourselves and thinking about this series or that series or anything like that. But, whether it's practice that day or the game that day, like you got to be ready, and that's what matters. And Coach Johnson always says, every game's a playoff game. So, even if it's a midweek You got to, really stick to it and stay focused. And, when postseason comes and, wherever you are in a super regional or regional, knowing that, you just played 56 playoff games, right? Like if you really stick to that and keep your focus there and treat it as such, just really prepares you, when the pressure's really on.
You talk about trusting the process, and I wrote it down, and pressure is a privilege. As a player that, again, highly touted out of Utah, I mean, I believe you played for your state title, right, as a senior. You've done a lot of things. You've accomplished a lot of things. You get to LSU, and you're not maybe a starter every game, or you're not playing as much as you would want to, right, coming right into college, but understanding that it is a process and trusting the process. Has that helped you develop because you're working with these guys every day and these coaches, and you understand that, hey, when my number's called, I'm ready, but it's also, again, pressure and privilege and being ready to go?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just really just working every day and not stressing about some of that stuff, right? Knowing that these guys, they're the ones who are going to contribute the most, right? And knowing that, I still got to hone in on some things and continue to work and, get bigger, get stronger. But, yeah, I think just watching the game kind of unfold for me, kind of learning, in different situations, right? Whether that's like a base running mistake or something that happened, right? Like jotting it down and using that later on, right? When the time comes and knowing that, okay, I've watched it all happen before. I know what to do, right? I can just go out there and play. I'm ready. I'm prepared. And so that's something that I'm working on right now, because, there's however many at-bats in a game, like you can visualize yourself up there and have 50 mental at-bats in a game. So that's something that I like to focus on for sure.
What's your at-bat routine and preparation for at-bats when you're facing, guys who are throwing 95 to 100, right? So what's that routine like and the preparation like that you have, but also what you see other guys doing?
Yeah, I think something that's big for just about everyone on the team is breathing, for sure. Slowing yourself down. And for me, I like to visualize, the pitcher, like whether that's on deck, I like to kind of see the pitcher and his release point. How we kind of know his ball might be running. Is he a sinker guy? Is he a rise guy? Thinking whether get on top or, stay inside the baseball. That's something that's big for me, and just really slowing down and just focusing on my pitch, really focusing on the pitch I can do damage with, and, pretty much taking everything else, which is something big here that we focus on, working counts and stuff. Like Paul mentioned, not swinging at balls, period, right? Like that's out of the question. So, yeah, that's kind of my at-bat routine, just visualizing and breathing and slowing myself down. But, yeah, just making sure it's consistent. You watch Dylan hit, and it's the same thing every time, really, which is it's really cool, man. He's fun to watch. So
now, how often do you pick their brains? Is it an everyday thing? Is it an every week thing? Is it every hitting session thing, where it's like, hey, Dylan, look at my swing. Tell me what you think. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's necessarily every day, but when we're in the cage, I like to just kind of ask Dylan, what he's kind of thinking about. Like, I'll like kind of watch his swing, and I'm like, are you kind of like consciously thinking, kind of like, not like you don't want to like slam that heel too much, kind of like stay on that toe, sort of something that he kind of works on, and so just kind of getting some info from some of the guys, across the board, even some freshmen, just, what are you kind of thinking? What feels good in your swing? What kind of, cues do you like to think about? Because that just kind of expands your toolkit, right? But really just, knowing what works for you. So, even if it works for Dylan, like it might not necessarily work for me. So I just like to see kind of what guys are thinking, really.
What separates you from everybody else that you've played with in high school and in college?
Yeah, I think for me, just not getting wrapped up in failure, or like for me, if I start off, not playing great, or if I'm not getting the time that I want, just continue to work. I'm someone who, will be at the field for a good minute, for a good while each day. I really it's not, just because I want to be here, but because I feel like I really got to get better, and I want to continue to invest in myself. So I think I'm able to kind of stay patient and self-aware really, and know that, okay, I got to improve in this area. My mindset's got to be better. Really, I would say that kind of separates me for sure. Just looking at the long run, not necessarily a short time frame.
Yeah, you're not afraid to grind. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
that's it in a nutshell, right? And trusting the process, knowing who you are. I mean, this has been fantastic because I think you've hit the nail on the head with a lot of things that I think a lot of high school players have to understand. Right now, high school kids transfer from school to school. The portals out there and things like that. And, I think a lot of people don't understand that it is a grind no matter where you go. You might be playing here, but you're still going to have to grind to be good. And I think that you trusting your process and knowing who you are individually is going to separate you. And I'm excited to see bigger and see some rings on those fingers. So it's going to be exciting for sure.
Where do you see yourself, in the next year to 5 years?
I want to continue to play baseball. I want to continue to just get better each day. It's kind of an obsession, really, man. Just thinking all the time, how can I take my game to the next level? And just letting that take me where it needs to, right? Obviously, I want to, play professional baseball and play in the big leagues one day, but I got to focus on today and what I can do today to put me in the position to do that, right? So not necessarily looking just at the end goal, but the process and how I get there, and really breaking that down, because that makes your goal tangible, and you can make a checklist each day and know that you're doing those things. And in 5 years or 10 years, if that's not where I am, then so be it. I can look back and know that I gave it all I had. So that's where I want to be in 5 years, though, or however long.
You're going to have a very long career. I think we all know that. I think everyone that's seen you play knows that that's going to be that's what's going to happen. Probably the biggest question I have sitting here talking and knowing that you're from Utah is, what pro team do you root for? Because Utah doesn't have one. So
right. For me growing up, I was actually a Red Sox fan. My dad was from back east, so he spent some time in Boston, and we went to Fenway a couple times, and it's hard not to root for him when you're there. That stadium is it's awesome. So I grew up a Red Sox fan, but my aunt actually lives in New York, and so she kind of converted my sister to be a Yankees fan. So we kind of got a inter-family rivalry, so kind of makes things interesting.
Mick, we got 3 questions for you. We ask everybody. It's called the last 3 outs. What's your favorite food?
I would honestly say sushi. I think sushi might be my favorite food.
Excellent. Favorite movie?
Something I watched recently that's got to be at the top of my list is Good Will Hunting. I like Good Will Hunting. That's a great movie all time.
Yeah. Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Favorite baseball player, alive or dead?
Man, I would say right now I'd say Trey Turner. I think he's someone that I like to kind of emulate in the way he plays. He's someone that I really look up to.
He's fun to watch. Yeah. Mick, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Nothing but great things. We're so excited for you and your future. We talked to Paul, a couple episodes ago, and he said we're doing part 2 of this in Omaha. So are we doing it part 2 in Omaha? Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's sweet.
All right. So we'll be seeing you in Omaha. That's the plan, at least. And thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Mick.
What's up, guys? This is Mick Paul from LSU. like and subscribe to the Baseball Playground.